This episode of Off My Shelf contains coarse language and adult conversation. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, my name is Tracy James and welcome to Off My Shelf, a podcast about movies that are well off my shelf, where we go through my DVDs and talk about the movies in my collection. In this episode, Paolo Vergara and Carson Choi, hosts of the Fan and the Critic podcast, join me in talking about two campy films with Shaun of the Dead and Shoot 'Em Up. Welcome!
Thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
Thanks. Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I mean, I was on your podcast last year, where we talked about adaptations of like books to movies and stuff. And you guys talk crazy movie stuff, so which I'm really happy about. I love a good deep dive movie podcast. So tell our audience what is the Fan and the Critic?
Sure, I'll give you a little bit of background. So, I'm Carson, as you mentioned. We've been running the Fan and the Critic for just over 7 years now, which sounds kind of crazy to say. We started, it was actually under a different name for the first few years, and then NASA stole our podcast name, so we had to change it. So it's now called the Fan and the Critic. But basically, when we started, we were two young guys who drank some alcohol and talked about movies and had some shenanigans. And now over the course of 7 years, we're two older guys who have a little bit more boring conversations, but still about movies.
And no alcohol.
Well, I'm having a little bit of alcohol here, but yes, the alcohol content has declined drastically over the years.
It's pretty much the same as what we used to do at work when we were on the same team, minus the alcohol. Just talk about movies and sit around.
I feel like that's what a lot of podcasts are. They're like, oh my God, our conversation is so good. People should hear this. And then here comes a podcast.
I mean, that's pretty much how it happened. I mean, yeah.
It is kind of crazy how much podcasts have blown up in the 7 years that we've been doing this. And it was probably on that trend before we even started, but like now podcasting is like a very serious industry. And the way that I would have described ours is more like Wayne's World in the context of the Wayne's World movie, where it's like, here's just some guys doing some things because it entertained them. I don't think we've joined the industry per se.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, I started this in mid 2018, and yeah, it was like podcasts were becoming like a huge thing. But 95% of my time I spent hanging with my friends talking about movies. And then whenever they came over, they made fun of my collection, or they'd be like, oh, that's a good one. You should talk about that. And I was like, okay, why don't we record this? And then that's what happened here. So I'm in the same boat.
I mean, it makes sense. Like going through the catalog of movies that you've done throughout your podcast, it's an insane mix.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I have a very, I've been told it's eclectic or WTF. So whichever works for me. I mean, that is a pretty good description of the movies that we have on tap today, which is Shaun of the Dead and Shoot 'Em Up, because both of these movies are wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe Shoot 'Em Up slightly more so, but Shaun of the Dead does have its moments, but we'll get into that. I'm a big fan of, I'm a fan of both, but even more so Shaun of the Dead. It's like one of my favorite movies. So okay. I'm really happy that you got me on for this one.
Good. So quick question before we start. Have you guys seen both of these movies before doing this podcast?
Yes, I had seen Shaun of the Dead, I want to say 5 or 6 times. Hot Fuzz and some of the other ones in that trilogy as well. I had seen less times, but also multiple viewings. Shoot 'Em Up, I had watched right when it first came out and then had never seen it again. So it was interesting to go back, and it was very different upon rewatch than it was in my mind of what it was going to be. So it had been a while.
It Shoot 'em up definitely hits very differently nowadays compared to the first time I watched it as well. I think partly, and I'm assuming this might be the same for you, Carson, but we've fairly recently, both had children, and um, yeah, it's definitely put a different lens on shoot 'em up and a lot of other things, but shoot 'em up especially. When we're going back to watching some of those old movies that where we don't realize some of the things that are happening and the gravity of them.
So I didn't even make the connection of like being a parent watching Shoot 'em Up because like that movie is so far from reality. To connect it to me having a baby on my own is like it's not even in the same world.
You mean it's not realistic to use bullets as basically extended hands and like
Yeah.
manipulate everything? No, well, I have a couple. I have a couple points like very specific about shoot 'em up and fatherhood, as weird as it sounds.
I mean, yeah, I did not take a lot of notes for either of those movies because the Shaun of the Dead, I will say, enjoyed rewatching, and I just got lost in watching the movie. And Shoot 'em Up, I sat there like mouth agape in awe. I was like, what is this? And why do I have this? And oh my God, what is happening? So, yeah, I mean, after the movie was done, I was like, I should write some things down. But I was like, there's too much. I'm just going to write down the whole movie. Just leave it. It's fine. It's fine. Things will come up and we'll talk about it. It's all right. Yeah.
And I mean, with everything that we're going to talk about, I'm sure there will be some insane things that we have missed
Yeah,
because there's so many.
probably. Yeah, probably. Do you want to start talking Shaun of the Dead then?
Sure.
Yeah, the first
Sh-
movie in the Cornetto trilogy. Yeah, I remember seeing this movie in the theater and loving it. So I've seen it a lot since then. I watch this at least once a year, and it's usually around like Halloween, that kind of thing. So I've seen it many times.
Yeah. So I had mentioned that the name of our podcast is The Fan and the Critic. So Paolo is the fan, I'm the critic, although we don't always fit into that bucket. But I think I sometimes have a reputation for being more artsy fartsy kind of type movie fan. And I think Shaun of the Dead is the type of movie that probably made me more annoying of a person to talk to because one of the things that people tell me is like, oh, the movie is just for fun. Like, don't take it too seriously. But a movie like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and sort of End of the World is it's just a nice fun movie, but it's also so well made and so clever, and you can see how much effort is put into making it that when you go and watch another dumb fun movie, I can't help but have the same expectations. Like it has now raised the bar for what you can do on a simple comedy because it's not a movie that takes itself too seriously. Like it's silly, it's ridiculous, but just the editing and the cleverness of the remarks and the way that they set up certain things that pay off later in the movie, like the one character that repeats the dialogue when she saves them at the end, little things like that. Um, it's just like I like honestly, it makes me go and watch other movies and being like, oh, you're not on par with Edgar Wright and what he's doing. Like this movie's not good enough. Like he really raised the bar for movies that are silly.
Yes, I actually would
I
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess I can count myself lucky that it hasn't ruined other movies for me. Even though Shaun of the Dead, like I said, is one of my favorite movies, and there's so many layers. Like you mentioned, there's callbacks all throughout. Like things that you don't even notice. Like a couple things that I actually didn't even notice until I rewatched it like a couple days ago. But I watch it probably just as often as you, Tracy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like all the zombies at the very or all the people at the very beginning are the same zombies that you see throughout the movie. Like there's like callbacks to things they say from the very beginning to the very end. Like Shaun always saying "leave him alone" to I forget Peter Serafinowicz's character
Oh,
um,
yes.
when
Yeah.
he's always defending Ed, and then at the very end, right before he spoiler alert shoots him, he's like, "Leave him alone." It's like so many small things that you don't realize, but they're littered throughout the movie, like the entire running time. But I mean, when it comes to other fun dumb movies, I'm totally fine with not having any layers and just watching something that Carson would absolutely hate, like The Gray Man or something he would watch and never think about again.
I don't know. I liked The Gray Man, even though I agree with Carson. Um, like I find there's a very thin line between what's a bad movie and what's a good movie because there's so many movies that are bad and you sit there and you're just like, if you just cut like a millisecond off of here, if this angle was like this way, it's just like these tiny, tiny, tiny things could have made it so much better. And then, but it falls apart. And then you see all these tiny things in a good movie, you're just like, oh, this shot works this way. And because they managed to parallel this at the beginning and then at the end, just makes this like a full circle and you're
Hmm.
just like, oh, this makes it just so much better. And then you're just like, why can't everything be this good? Because even a bad movie, so many people put so much effort into it, and you're just like, I'm gonna shit on you, but I'm gonna feel kind of bad about it.
Yeah.
You know?
See, that's where I'm coming from when we're doing our podcast, Carson.
But in the second half of this conversation, I'm going to turn my words around because shoot 'em up is like bad in so many ways, but it still got me.
Okay.
And so it's like there's still some things that I can enjoy, but it's a little bit harder when you see such a good example of something like Shaun of the Dead. And I would actually say Hot Fuzz. So when we were getting ready for this, I don't know why, but I think I was thinking Hot Fuzz the entire time. So there were so many like little scenes and little moments that I had in my head, and as I was watching Shaun of the Dead, I was like, wait, no, that's Hot Fuzz. Um, and I remember when those movies first came out, like everyone loved Shaun of the Dead, and it was like the first kind of introduction of the Edgar Wright style. I mean, like mainstream at least. And then Hot Fuzz, there was a little bit of disappointment too, and I think people didn't like as much. But now that I rewatched Shaun of the Dead, I actually think I like Hot Fuzz more. Which, if you would have asked me that 3, 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Why do you think your opinion has changed?
I think it just comes down to expectations.
Mhm.
Like, and I would say another good example of this is The Dark Knight Rises. Was not well received. I'm a huge DC fan, so obviously Dark Knight was an amazing movie, and then a lot of people didn't like Dark Knight Rises, and then you go and watch that 6, 7 years later without all the expectations and the hype and everything, and it's a pretty good movie. It's not as good as Dark Knight, but it's still really good. And I would say that's probably where Hot Fuzz suffered from is it came out from a very well received movie that everyone loved, and it wasn't better, or at least like people had already kind of seen some of that style. Whereas some of the appeal of Shaun of the Dead was it was a very fresh comedy style. Like it was the first time people were seeing like this type of humor being brought together. Whereas Hot Fuzz is kind of that same style again.
Got it. Yeah. So I guess it's like the M. Night Shyamalan effect. You're just like, you see Sixth Sense and you're like, oh my God, there's a twist. And then the next movie, you're like, where's the twist? Oh, there it is. And then you're like, ugh, whatever.
Yeah,
And just keeps going on and on and on. I guess it's the same kind of, Edgar Wright has his style and he does this style. And then you're just
just
like,
not.
oh, it's
Oh,
just his style.
yeah, just not as drastic as a drop off as it was for M. Night Shyamalan.
Right. That is true. That is true.
That just reminds me, the last time I went to a theater and there was I think it was a trailer for Old, or some M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it was going through the trailer. There's no like names or anything, and then it's like silence, and then as soon as it says directed by M. Night Shyamalan, that it popped on the screen, the theater started laughing, and I was like, oh, that's brutal.
If we were in the same theater, I was one of those people laughing. I'll just
Yeah.
tell you that. Yeah.
I was just at the theater for Furiosa, and there was a trailer for the new M Night Shyamalan movie with Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we all laughed at it. I
I
also saw
actually really,
Furiosa. That was great.
I actually really want to see that though, like the Josh Hartnett one and
Yeah.
Furiosa, but
I don't know. Like I think with Edgar Wright, I've actually seen I saw all of these movies in the theater and I loved all of the movies when I watched it, including At World's End, where people are just like, that movie is shit. I disagree. Um, I liked all of them flat out. Um, and of course I liked Scott Pilgrim, which is on I talked about the previous two episodes before this one. And I don't know, like I think people are saying his style is degrading and he's lost his ideas and all this kind of stuff, but I'm like, he has a decent, it's not a huge body of work, but it's a decent body of work for him to be like, I did a thing that is now part of our culture, done, and I'm fine with that.
And I would say you don't fully appreciate the quality that he's putting into it until you don't have it for a while. Because he hasn't made that many movies. Like, I think Baby Driver was the last one. And it's like when these ones were first coming out, he was doing, I don't know how much time there was between Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and End of the World, but I think like they were pretty recent and regular. And then you go back and like I had mentioned I'd watched Shaun of the Dead like 5 or 6 times, but it's been like a few years since I've watched it. And you go back and you reappreciate what it is because I haven't seen that in a while. And you watch other comedies and they're not doing it as well. So yeah.
I think too with his comedy, like I find a lot of comedy right now, it's either mean, like they're just mean to someone throughout the whole thing, or it's they say it's a comedy, but really it's a drama that has some slightly funny moments, and you're sitting there just being depressed, and you're like, haha, that guy fell down, like that kind of thing. And it's a thing that like drives me crazy about what people consider comedy right now, because I think this is going to sound weird, but comedy has become too serious. And people need to relax a little bit. But that's just me. Also, his last movie was Last Night in Soho, which I actually did not
Right.
like.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
think maybe that's an example of one that's very serious that has maybe a little bit of comedy in it because it's not what I expected at all when I watched it.
But I
Yeah.
appreciate him trying something different. Like you look at someone like a Wes Anderson who's really just like gotten really involved with his own style. And
Mhm.
so in comparing to that, like I do appreciate that he took a chance and I think it was still decently well executed, but it's definitely not what you'd expect if you're thinking it's going to be like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz.
I wasn't thinking, like I knew this was not a comedy when I went to go see it, and I was like you, I was excited that he was doing something different. But when like parts of the movie are good, like he's doing different camera movements and styles, and he's throwing these ideas out there, which are awesome. But as a whole, the movie just doesn't hold up. It doesn't really do anything. And so that's why I was disappointed because I'm just like, I watched it and I was like, oh, okay. And that was it.
I think that's yeah, probably a result of him. It's probably the most different movie that he'd attempted. Is like especially if you compare it to a lot of the other stuff that he's done, even up to Baby Driver, right? Like it's just completely tone and style wise different, but you can still see that his like his a bit of like quirky personality is still like seeping through, even though it's like a dark story about a serial killer.
Yes.
But you have some of these like weird quirky things like a cool dance scene or like you see the girls looking at each other through the mirror through time and it's like a little too I don't know, not it doesn't really fit. Maybe that's where the that feeling comes from.
The one thing that I
Possibly.
really liked between the two of them was his visual storytelling, whether it's visual gags that you see in Shaun of the Dead, like it's not like a hugely complicated joke. It's just like the way that he might shoot something that's a little weird. And like he kind of translated that well to the visual kind of horror elements that we're in. And I think maybe the visual elements of Last Night in Soho were maybe a little too goofy for the movie to be serious. But I appreciate that he's doing visual storytelling as opposed to I hate when they give the exposition dumps that just make it like way too obvious or like you tell a joke and then you explain the joke and it's like there's none of that. Like it's just I'm gonna do my gag and then I'm gonna move on to the next thing.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think that's also the thing about Edgar Wright movies is that they assume the audience has a certain intellectual level, and they're like, look, we're gonna put everything on screen, and if we make some sort of like movie reference or whatever, look it up after, it'll be fine, and just have a good time with it while you're here.
Yeah, and there's so many gags. It's like, okay, you throw 7 gags on there, and even if you missed 3, you still got like 4 jokes. And it's like, you probably like, as Paulo mentioned, like you rewatch it and you notice all these things that you didn't before. But you noticing or not noticing those things don't disrupt your enjoyment of the movie. Like you've still got a lot of jokes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
all I c- Oh, sorry, go ahead. You first.
No, no, I was actually going to ask you a question. Like because you said you had noticed some new things. So besides like the people on like at the beginning you see throughout the movie is the zombies, which is also something I noticed for the first time. I'm like they literally got like every single person, which I thought
Yeah.
was really cool. What other new things had you not noticed before? Um, like that's on this watch that you're just like, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a couple things. So it all goes back to like all the callbacks that are just there's so many, but there's one well sorry, before I get into the callbacks, it's like the people like you mentioned, there's so many people like recognizable faces sprinkled in throughout the movie. Like Martin Freeman is in there for like 3 seconds. Um the guy, this is going to be very specific, but the guy working, like the young guy working with Shaun at the electronics store, who's
Yes,
like
I
giving him
recognize him too.
shit. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Who's giving him shit, and he's like, the first time you got red on you, or maybe the second time. Um, he is also the guy from Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, who's like the main villain. Um, also in The Ritual, which is kind of an obscure like horror movie, which is also really good though, if you've never seen it. And then there's the guy. So again, the mirror group of friends. So it's like Shaun and his old friend, and then when they bump into each other at that one point, there's like five each, and they're clearly the opposite of each other, or like a mirror version of each other. The fifth guy in that other group is um, I think he's in Bridesmaids. Um, like him and Rebel Wilson, they're like brother and sister, and
Oh,
they're Kristen
yes.
Wiig's landlord. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the
landlords,
guy who's from like Little Britain, right? The comedian.
possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I literally know him from that one little role.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's all these people sprinkled about. It's like the I don't know, like band of brothers of zombie movies, because like in that one there's so many, like Tom Hardy and like all these recognizable faces too. So that's one of the big things. Another one's like a lot smaller, but Sean's mom always says, "Oh, hello," when someone addresses her, like throughout the entire movie. And it's used as like she's kind of airy, but it's also used to hide the fact that she's turning into a zombie because she's been bitten without in the pub without actually showing that she's been bitten. So someone at some point, like someone asks her if she'd like a drink, and then she's just like, "Oh, hello," and it's like, haha, she's still airy, like nice mother, but really, she's been bitten, she's dying, which is tragic and sad. But
It is, yes.
yeah, um, but yeah, there's a lot more, and they'll probably come to me, but like those are the ones that are like top of mind. Um, and I just, yeah, I love it. It's like a perfect movie to me.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. I agree with you because I find all of the things they set up at the beginning pay off at the end,
Hmm.
and all of the stuff in the middle, despite some of it being ridiculous, it kind of all makes sense. And a lot of the decisions they make throughout the movie, you're not like I find a thing with a lot of horror movies is that you sit there and you're just like, well, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. Whereas this movie, I was like, yeah, you should do that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I mean, I don't know if going to the Winchester actually makes sense, but it was a plan to go
Yeah.
somewhere. But like on their way there, I was just like, yeah, okay. I understand what you're doing.
Yeah. Or like having the failed actress teach them all how to be act like zombies to get through the crowd.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but like it's just so good that you don't even realize those things. Or like parts when zombies are surrounding them, you don't realize that they're all just kind of standing there waiting for them to get their lines out when it's in reality they would be eaten already.
Yeah. Carson, what are the things in the movie that like because you say this movie ruins other cheesy, campy movies for you because it's so well done. But like as the critic, what kind of shots and stuff like that are like the ones that you're just like, this is the thing. Like this here is what makes it like art or another level.
So that one I actually probably have more examples from Hot Fuzz. And which is why I had these moments stuck in my head from Hot Fuzz, and for some reason I just can't get them out. But simple things around and sorry, I'm talking about a completely different movie now. In Hot Fuzz, he's a cop in London who ends up going to work in a small town. And, the simple thing around he goes on a train to get there. And instead of it being just like, in a lot of movies, you'd see, the train going through the countryside, the title scroll up and this, weird music or just like trendy music. There's like a cutscene where it slowly shows him like going from scene to scene where you can visually see the contrast between being in a big city and being in the middle of nowhere. Like he checks his, and this all happens within the span of like 2 seconds, but you can see him like check his phone with full bars and then he checks his phone with 0 bars and just little things like that, where it's like, you've now told me all I need to know about how he is transitioning from one environment to another, about the new city that he's going to, and you haven't used a bunch of like clunky dialogue to slow down the movie to get there. It's just like you tell that visually. And I'm trying to think of good examples of how they've done that in Shaun of the Dead, and I'm sure I'll think of a few, but it's just like little things like that where you get the information to the audience that they need to know. And so you can just focus on the goofiness and you're not disoriented. Like the audience always knows what's going on. They know what the point of the story is and what's happening, what the motivation of the characters are, in just like a very simple, straightforward way. So little things like that, that also like some of these things can be a gag in and of themselves. Just helps. It's just like the craftsmanship you can tell is really high quality.
Well,
Yeah, that
to
makes
add
sense.
to that, like they used that as purely a gag in Shaun of the Dead because it's like those like that 2 second jump cut montage, right? But like we're in Hot Fuzz, it's actually showing like a change from the city to the countryside. In Shaun of the Dead, it's like focusing on like the most mundane things, but it's like super action, like woo woo, like spreading toast, spreading jam on toast, woo, picking up the
Yeah.
phone, like that. And I feel like maybe even that just shows how like stuck in the mud Shaun is, because those are like the exciting things about his life, right? So they definitely did start that in Shaun of the Dead.
And
Yeah,
there's this one gag where they do where he's going over to his mom's house and he wants to kill his stepdad because he thinks well, I think he has been bitten at that point. And then it's like he comes into the room and it just like shows the knife and there's like the weird music and like the shine on the knife. And it's like just little things like that. It's like, okay, you could have done that in a more obvious way, but you just chose a more clever way to do it.
yeah, I like those little references to all of like the horror cliches, you know what I mean? Like if you have like a straight horror movie, here's a cliche thing, which is like knife glinting in like the moonlight or something like that, and or like the slow moving zombie with like the creepy face and whatever, and you turn around, you're like, what? Oh, it's just a drunk guy. Like, no, that's not how you react to this, right? Um, or even one thing I noticed in this movie, which I'm surprised I hadn't noticed before, is that from the beginning of the movie, like he gets up and yawns, whatever, sits down, wants to play the game. Then he gets ready to go to work, and that's where the cut scene is. It shows him brushing his teeth, putting stuff
Hmm.
on bread, blah blah blah. Comes back downstairs, and I'm like, okay, cool. But when he leaves, there's already indications that a zombie apocalypse is happening, and it's not just like hearing, because there's like a thing on the radio when it gets to like the convenience store and stuff. But if you look at the backgrounds,
Hmm.
there's there's already people slowing down or lumbering. There's like on the bus, so when he's going to work, everybody seems normal, it's fine, but when he's coming home from work, there's a guy sitting right behind him who's all pale and ashen and looking
Yeah.
sick, and he starts to cough, and you're just like, you know there's like a few things in the background of him just walking by, but because he's taking up so much of the foreground, you're not really paying attention to that, and you don't pay attention to it until like maybe like the third, fourth time you watch it, because then you're just like, hey, what's going on over there? And what's going on over there? And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like when he's at work at the TV, like he's trying to sell a TV, and on the TV, like that he's talking about, there's like a news report. It's
Yeah.
talking about how like something returned to Earth, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like explaining or like hinting at what's causing everything.
Hmm.
So yeah,
But they
that's
also did multiple. I noticed that in the most recent viewing is one time they say something about something coming to Earth, and then in another news clip earlier when he's at home, it mentioned something about like a disease starting in some country. So it's like
oh
they're basically just saying like who cares how it started?
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw a couple random thoughts, and this isn't the point of the movie, so we'll just
Yeah.
skip over that.
Yeah, at
I
the
didn't even
end
catch
of
the other ones.
at the end of the movie when he's watching TV, they get into a story about this is started because you shouldn't be using, and then he changes the channel. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, there's another thing. And then of course, there's the whole thing where it's like the apocalypse because of religious people in the background as well. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yes.
Yeah.
And in my mind,
Actually,
like that itself is kind of a joke, like referencing zombie movies of like the ridiculous things they do to try to explain why zombies are happening when really at the end of the day, we as an audience don't care. We accept that they're zombies and we just want to see
yeah.
the zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, there's like a lot of references to like other zombie movies. Like they do this to in Hot Fuzz as well, like with Point Break and I don't know, a whole bunch of other ones that I can't think of right now. But there's one that I just learned about recently, for Shaun of the Dead specifically, where they're talking to Shaun's mom, and then Ed is like he cuts in, he's like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." And apparently, I still like I've never seen Night of the Living Dead. Shame on me. But apparently that's like an iconic line from Night of the Living Dead, but it's just delivered a
Really?
little differently. It's like, yeah, someone's like taunting this girl and this lady, and she's like, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." Um, so
I did
that's
I did not
yeah,
know that. Okay.
yeah. I learned that from there's a YouTube channel called I think it's called Dead Meat, where they do like kill counts for horror movies, but it's not just like counting the kills. It's like they give a lot of random facts and stuff. And I learned that one from for Shaun of the Dead.
That's pretty good. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge horror movie watcher. Of course I have seen my fair share of horror movies, especially zombie movies for some reason. So it's like 28 Days Later and Dawn of the Dead and I've watched The Walking Dead and blah blah blah. So like a lot of like I get the idea of a lot of these references, but most of the time I don't know where they come from or
Mm.
whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm assuming this is a reference because it seems overly specific, but I don't know where it's from most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like I haven't watched a whole lot of like original iconic horror movies. I've started trying to a little bit. Like I tried watching The Shining recently because me and my friends do like every October we'll try to do like we'll just watch a scary movie on a weekend or multiple weekends until Halloween. Because Halloween is one of my other friends' birthdays. So
Yeah.
it's like leading up to that. And we tried watching The Shining. And I don't know if Carson will hate me for this, but we like absolutely hated it. And like I think half of us fell asleep and Carson's shaking his head.
I love The Shining. It's well, maybe like top 50. I wouldn't say like top five or anything like that, but amongst horror movies, like actual, because Shaun of the Dead's a horror movie that I really like, but it's not really a horror movie. Like of horror movies, I would say Shaun of the Dead or The Shining is right up there.
Yeah, I the Shaun of the oh sorry, not Shaun of the Dead. The Shining, I watched that movie while sitting with my mother while she was at a hairdresser. It was like the middle of the day on like a Wednesday, and it was like sunny out. And for some reason, the hairdresser had the TV on, and it was just on. And I had never watched it at that point. And I was maybe like 20 or something. Like I had driven her there. It was like a day out for the ladies. And I remember just sitting there riveted by this movie, and I'm like freaking out. And I'm like, nobody's seeing this. This shit's scary. What are you doing?
So I'm alone in
So
this.
yeah, I just find like I understand why people might find not like it because it is very slow. So there's a anxiety building slowness in it. So and as you're going in the movie, it just makes you uncomfortable, I find. And I find those are sometimes the best kind of horror movies, not just like jump out of the shadow, stab someone, jump back in the shadow.
Yeah.
No, I want to be emotionally destroyed when I watch one, or else it's pointless. Um, and yeah, I think The Shining is one of those ones that gets that uncomfortableness in you.
Yeah, I mean, good on The Shining to even get you in that setting because like we were in like we dimmed the lights, we let everyone be quiet, like we're gonna watch The Shining, everyone focus, and which we never do, and then we just like fell asleep.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say about The Shining is like, depending on what type of horror movie you're expecting, like it's scary, but it's not like jump scare horror. It's like it's psychological. Like you have to be in, like you are scared by the story because you might connect to it or like the little things that are going on. But like I remember what was that Steven Spielberg movie, Ready Player One, and where they reference like every movie ever made, basically. And in
Yeah.
that movie, they reference like The Shining being, oh, this most terrifying movie. And it's like, I don't think I would say that The Shining is the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's a very good movie that happens to be a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
We're not winning him over on our side here. No, not at all.
It's not gonna happen. But like I respect your opinions.
One
And
thing I
it's
will
not like
say is, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not like I don't like those kinds of movies like Hereditary, Midsummer. It's the same, like similar. It's not jump scare stuff. It's like anxiety inducing. Into that. Just Shining and it being like 8 hours long is not for me.
The one thing I'll say is I watched all Stanley Kubrick movies when I was like 19 years old. And so being 18 or 19 and being introduced to like real cinema for the first time, I think like I've like Stanley Kubrick movies have this image in my head which is basically unbeatable, and I've never watched them again ever since. And so now that I'm older, I feel like if I watch them, I might be a little less impressed by them compared to being at a time in my life where I was really being introduced to it for the first time. Or maybe it'll hold up. I don't know. But I really haven't watched a Stanley Kubrick movie in quite a long time.
But that might just be because so many things that like Stanley Kubrick has been emulated in so many other movies. So rewatching it, you feel like, oh, I've seen this before. This is a cliche that I've seen this 20 times. So it doesn't feel new anymore. Whereas when you watched it, I think it was new, and that's why it was so exciting and different.
So I don't like, I think I'm trying to think of a good example, but I think a good movie is a good movie regardless. A good example of what you're talking about for me is Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, in my opinion, like you watch those movies and they're good. They have been copied those stories so many times. And so when you go and watch like Rear Window for the first time or like, any of his big ones, it's like, I wasn't particularly impressed. Whereas I feel like something like a Stanley Kubrick, it's not even about whether you've seen it before. It's just so well done, and a shot is so good that I could just enjoy that. We talked about was the movie The Green Knight, which I think we were both bored by, but it was visually very interesting. And it's like I feel like I could take any screenshot, like any screen of that movie, and put it in a museum and walk by it, and it would be a lovely thing to look at. And I feel the same way about a Stanley Kubrick movie, where it doesn't matter whether I'm looking at it for the first time. I'm just impressed by how visually good looking it is and how it fits together and how it fits with the ambience and the sound and all that. And I think that that survives beyond just whether you've seen it before or whether you've seen another movie that has done something similar.
Got it. Yeah. I will disagree with you on that one though. Um,
Okay.
um, like, no, I agree with you that like, a movie needs to be, it's really helpful when a movie is beautiful. I'm not saying no. And, but the thing is, I'm going to bring it back to Shaun of the Dead because we ran away from it for a minute there.
Oh yeah, we're talking about
Um,
that.
but like, there is no scene in that movie that if you take a screenshot, you will think automatically, beautiful. Look how beautiful this looks. And I think that actually helps the movie because you're not so lost in the scenery and the woe factor. You're just so entrenched in the story and how it's being told, right? And I think there is an emphasis on prettiness in movies right now. Zack Snyder is a horrible director, but his movies are real pretty. And it's just like you're like, yeah, everything is a screensaver, everything's a really cool poster, but you're not saying or doing anything. Now, mind you, there are movies that cross over, which you guys were talking about on your last episode, which is like Dune and Dune 2. I did not watch what's the other one that was on
Rebel
there?
Moon 2.
Rebel Moon.
I did not watch Rebel Moon. I was like, I'm not on that bandwagon. But like there are movies that cross over those two things that are very pretty and very well made. And so you're like, it's good that it's pretty, but there's also a really good story in there. So it's like I kind of like I can't get over pretty movies that are pointless, but I can get over ugly movies that are well done, if you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that makes sense. I and like just going back to Carson's example of the Green Knight, it's funny because he mentioned like, and we've talked about this before ad nauseum, but like for Carson, it's like it's so beautiful and it's like going through a museum. I was like, yeah, that's why I don't like it. Like, it's not that I don't like museums, but it's like it's a cool fantasy story, supposedly, but I'm like, it's so
s-
slow and
so my supporting argument for that is, Rebel Moon is a very good looking movie, but I didn't enjoy it because there's different styles of movies. And Green Knight knows that it is an atmospheric movie. And so it's not purely the visuals, it's kind of the fact that it understands what it's trying to do and that it's trying to put you in a world, and it's not just the visuals, it's the audio, it's the pace of the movie, it's all that kind of coming together as a visually entertaining thing to look at, even if the story is not very interesting. Whereas something like Rebel Moon, yes, it looks good, but the story is annoying and the pace is annoying. And so it's not like a good looking movie can make up for bad things, but there's different things that you could enjoy. And so a movie, bringing it back to Shaun of the Dead, it's like it's not meant to be visually entertaining. Well, I mean, I've spoken about some of the
in a
visual
different
things that he
way.
does, but yeah, it's entertaining in its own way, and it's finding its own voice and its own style. And I think a movie understanding what its style is and connecting on that survives past, like, there's no universal thing where do this and a movie is good. Otherwise, every movie would be good because everyone knows what that is. You kind of have to figure out what your movie is and execute on that. And Shaun of the Dead's a great example where it knows exactly what type of movie it wants to be, and it does exactly that.
Yeah, it does, and it does it so well, so well. That and like when it comes to like comedy horror, I think the classics are Shaun of the Dead, what is it? Cabin in the Woods
Mm.
and Scream. I think are like the classics that people are like comedy horror. If you want like real theater and enjoy the story and everything, you watch those three. Done.
All of the Scream movies?
Definitely not all of them. I would say I don't mind Scream 2, but after that, not a I also haven't
Oh,
watched any of the new ones.
oh, okay.
I've only watched the first four. Four. Yes, the first four. But yeah, 3 and 4 are pointless. One, definitely best. Two is acceptable. All right.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I came into it late. Like I've said this before on our podcast, but like I was always too scared to watch scary movies. So like all the classic ones, I've tried to go back and start to watch because I can take them now. And
Mhm.
like Scream is one of them because I thought I didn't know what it was like. Just thought it was a scary movie, and I'm nope, can't do it. But I definitely like I do enjoy them, and I think it's benefited me because I like maybe like you said, maybe the 3 and 4 or everything past that is not really well regarded, but I enjoy all of them, and maybe except for the last one, like the very last one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can't comment on that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I think the last comedy horror I watched was Freaky. No, I well, on the same night I watched Freaky and The Blackening, which are both like weird comedy horrors that are so one's just like serial killer Freaky Friday, and the other one is a bunch of black people in a cabin and are like, who's gonna die first? They're all black. So that's like the whole running joke. And they're both very good. And I was able to watch those because I knew they were comedies. But like you, I find it very hard to watch horror movies. And so a lot of like the classic horrors I haven't watched. Like I've in like group settings, I've watched like Friday the 13th, only one, only the first one. I don't think I've ever watched all of A Nightmare on Elm Street though. Um, I I on my watch list are Hereditary and Midsummer. Can't bring
Mm.
myself to do it. And I watched like I said, I watched The Shining and I watched The Exorcist when I was like 15, freaked me out for a while.
Still haven't seen that
And
one. Can't do
yeah,
it.
that's fine. Last year a friend of mine was like, "Hey, let's go see a movie. It's called Barbarian." And I was like, "Okay." Never heard of it, didn't know anything about it, showed up, and halfway through the movie he's like, "Why did you bring me to this? No, what is wrong with you?" But with that said, it's really good. So, it's like I dabble in horror, but yeah, I'm not like a let's go watch a horror movie person. And I have a surprising amount of friends who are like, let's go watch a horror movie people. I'm like, you guys are crazy. That's a you thing, not a me thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're good group watching movies. Like when you're talking about like the popcorn horror, like the screams and the Barbarian to a lesser extent, but still up there, like
Yeah.
just with your friends, like yelling at the screen type thing. Yes. Um, but maybe not so much like The Shining and The Exorcist. So it's different levels.
There are definitely different levels, yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have a favorite horror movie or a favorite like horror comedy genre movie that like it's like if you want to be scared, I don't know who wants to be scared, but sometimes people want to be scared. Like this is what you would go to.
I I wouldn't want to, so I don't watch anything to purposely be scared because I still am a little wussy boy. Um, but like really, you're gonna go back to Shaun of the Dead because like again, it's not full on horror, but it's just top like top three, top five movies of like that are just my favorite. There's horror elements to it. I mean, if I really want to lean into how much of a horror movie it is, the David's death at the end where he's like being ripped apart, that's super horrific. But yeah, I mean, this is top for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I just quickly checked my ranking. So every movie that I watch, I rank out of 100 online, and so I just quickly looked up my horror movies, and my top two are The Shining and Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
Really not a big fan of a horror. Actually, our next podcast that we're doing, we're watching four horror movies, and I have not started because I don't wanna.
Yeah, I would be
But
the same
like,
way.
yeah, the same like the movies like Hereditary and Midsummer, those are the ones I enjoy because for me those feel like real movies that happen to be horrors, whereas I don't like as much the popcorn watch with your friends ones, which are like kind of jump scares. Um, just not my thing really.
Are you allowed to say what the four movies are that you're supposed to be watching?
I can't remember.
I I think but we can say them. I think one of them is The Howling.
Oh, never seen that
Um,
one.
I have not seen that either, so it's going to be a new experience for myself and definitely Carson as well. I know Carson hasn't seen that. Um, Carson, what did you pick? You picked
So I'm
oh,
trying to
jeez.
think because so basically the what we're gonna do for our episode is there's four of us joining and each one of us has recommended a horror movie that the other three have to watch. And I remember I tried to pick like the artsiest horror movie just to annoy the other guys. I was originally gonna go with one of these Japanese ones, which is
Mhm.
called The Suicide Club, which is like the goofiest and most ridiculous horror movie I've seen, which
Okay.
also is like kind of good story. But I think I didn't end up choosing that. I chose something else and I can't remember which one.
Possessor. You picked Possessor,
Possessor, yes. The new
which I
David Cronenberg's son is now making movies, and he made a bizarrely weird, very artsy horror movie a couple years ago. So,
Didn't he
already know
do
I'm not going to like it.
didn't he do Antiviral? Is that him?
yes, I think that
Yeah.
was his first one, and then Possessor was his second one, and then he also did a third one a couple years ago with I can't remember his name, Skarsgård,
Oh,
at
okay.
like a vacation resort one. And now his sister, so David Cronenberg's daughter, is now making movies as well. And I think she just had her first movie come out this weekend or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah, no, I don't think I would do very well in picking a bunch of horror movies to watch, so that will be fine. I mean, I do like I consider the Aliens movies to be horror, especially the
Oh
first
yeah.
one. And I watch those pretty regularly. But that's because I know them, I know what to expect, I know when to look away. And they still, even after I've probably seen each of those movies, I don't know, 10 times each. Well, the original ones, not like the newer ones, because those ones are really bad. They make me so angry because they're just so dumb for no reason. Um, but uh, but that first Alien movie still gets me no matter how many times I watch it. Like whoa, it's a lot.
So I don't understand why people don't like the new ones. Because I loved Prometheus and I liked Alien Covenant, and for me, they're really well-made movies, like good craftsmanship, good directing, and like people just really shit on them, and I don't know why.
They have a thing called stupid smart people, which frustrates me. And because you have a ship with a bunch of scientists and PhDs, and also people who have a huge amount of experience doing a specific thing. And then they go to this planet and go do everything that people who have those experience would never do. And you're just like, that's just dumb though. Like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. And like, especially with Prometheus is the second one, right?
I think
Um,
that's the
That was the
first one.
first
is
one.
that the first
Alien
one?
Covenant was the second one.
Covenant is the second one. And on in Covenant, yeah, it's a ship of like colonists and stuff, so maybe they're not as prepared, but there is like a couple of scientists on there. They land on this planet they've never been to before, and then dressed like they're going hiking in the Scarborough Bluffs and are shocked when they're attacked by wildlife and weird things and things go wrong. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's gonna happen because you didn't prepare. And it's logical things that get me with those movies. It's not really like the I actually do think the direction in the movies is quite nice. It looks good and the angles are really cool. The sets are really amazing. And the idea of the story really works, but it's just the logic of it drives me crazy. That's what my problem is.
They should have just gone to the Winchester and waited for everything to blow over.
Exactly. Exactly. So quick question. If there was a zombie apocalypse, A, have you planned your route out of your house if you need to get out? And B, do you have a place you think you would go? Like, not necessarily like the Winchester, but like, do you have a place you think you would go in an apocalypse?
My perspective, and I probably spend more time thinking about this than I should, but as a
Same.
parent, I feel like I have to think about this stuff. If there's one thing the pandemic taught me, it's that other people cannot be trusted. And I need to get as far away from them as possible. So my gut instinct would say I need to get food, like run to a grocery store, but everybody is going to go to the grocery store and there's going to be some bad stuff going down there. So I would take my wife and my daughter and I would get as far away from human civilization as possible because I don't want to be anywhere near people. Where that is, I don't know. But I would just get in my car and just start driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me. Like I think about this all the time because I feel like, and this is why I like zombie movies so much because it's the one horror thing where I feel like I would rock this shit. Like I would be so good at it, unless they were the fast ones that I'm dead. And it always frustrates me because I talk to my wife about this, and she's always like, we'll be watching a movie, a horror movie, like a zombie movie, and she'll just be like, I would just give up like immediately. And I'd be like, no, like listen to me. I can get us out of this. Like, don't just give up because I need you with me, you know? But it's like pretty much the same thing as Carson. Like, go somewhere isolated. My parents have a cottage up north. We'll go up there. Normally, I hate it there because there's spiders and such, but that's where we would go, catch our own food.
Mhm.
Maybe stop at Costco on the way if it's still early on in the outbreak.
Really waiting for the whole thing to blow over is the right strategy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, so you wouldn't follow like in the movie, the news says just stay inside, shut your doors, close your curtains, shut your windows, just stay inside, we'll take care of it. I guess you wouldn't believe that.
I mean, for better or worse, I've learned everything from zombie movies. So if anyhow like it happens and what you learn in zombie movies is not what you're supposed to do, then I'm dead.
Yeah. I mean, I think um I live by myself, so I would get bored really quickly and want to make noise, and that's not a good thing. So I definitely go find somebody I know in a hopefully stealthy way. But one thing I have told people, I was like, look, if you protect me during the zombie apocalypse, right? Because I'm not a fast runner, but I'm pretty tough. I can take it. And I'm a really good cook. So if you kill stuff, I'll cook it for you. But yeah, if we're getting hunted down by though, I might trip you because I'm slow and you need to get caught. But it's fine. I'm probably gonna die on the first day. What am I talking about? It's over. I'm gonna get caught on like the TTC and like some random dude's gonna bite me. It's done. It's over.
Oh no, 28 weeks later, don't go in the subway.
No, but
That's a lesson from
I'll just be there
oh, you'll
already.
already be there.
Like when this just shit really starts to go down, I'll be like on my way home with my headphones on and not notice a ruckus behind me, and then turn around just in time, just be jumped on. I'm like, okay, there you
This is
go.
like a World War Z version of it where like it goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour like super quickly.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
I will say one thing these movies have taught me is that doctors should stop trying to cure diseases because in most of these movies it's like we tried to cure cancer and we tried to cure the common cold. We tried to find a cure for anger or rage. And but look what happened instead. So just, it's we got to thin out the herd. Just let the
That
diseases take people out, I guess. I don't know.
that's a fair
That
point.
sounds
I never
horrible.
I never made that connection.
Maybe
But
zombie movies are all funded by big pharma, which is hoping that none of these diseases get cured.
Yeah, just keep buying the pills. Just keep buying the pills. We'll make it better. It's okay. It's okay. That's the real propaganda that's happening. Um let's see. Do I have any So I'm just checking my like four notes that I have here.
No, that's okay. While you're doing that, you guys want to know a fun fact or a couple fun facts about Shaun of the Dead? Because
Sure.
this is like, again, I started watching this movie. I think it was like I don't know if it was high school. I don't know if the timeline adds up, but
It
um,
came out in
I
2004.
okay, so the timeline adds up. Like in the summers, like me and my friends would chill in their basement, watch movies, pick a random scary one. Um, not by my choice, but Shaun of the Dead happened to be one of those movies. And from that point, I like watched all the special features. I looked it up on IMDb and all that stuff. So some of the stuff that I learned um, is Shaun's mom was supposed to be Helen Mirren, or they wanted Helen Mirren to be Shaun's mom. And I'm glad that they didn't go with her, or they didn't get her, I guess. Maybe she wasn't available. But his mother is so like she's the epitome, like she just exudes like pleasant mother, which
She
is not to
really
say that
does.
Helen Mirren, yeah, which is not to say that Helen Mirren doesn't, but she seems like pleasant rich mother, or like and Shaun's mom is like pleasant. This is actually your friend's mother.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, Helen Mirren would have brought too much gravitas to that role. She's very like blend into the background, don't notice her. And like, yeah, she nailed it.
Mhm.
yeah. Also in the special features, it explains how Shaun got Ed out of the basement of the Winchester and into his shed. I actually just don't remember what the story was, but if you ever find the special features of Shaun of the Dead, maybe on YouTube or something, or you find a DVD, or if you have it
I
on your
have the
shelf.
DVD. I've got to now I have to look at it. I am notorious for never watching special features or never having like the commentary on because I'm
Oh
just like,
yeah,
I just want to watch my movie. Like that's all I
yeah,
want. I just want to watch my movie. And yeah, every once in a while I get curious. I'm just like, oh, what's this? And have like a look at it. But yeah, now that I know there's some curiosity in there, I'll have a look at that. Yeah.
yeah. There's some cute little like shorts that they do. It's like animated, like storyboard style, from what I remember, and then it just explains like how Ed got out of the basement. Apparently, the failed actress, I think her name is Diane, like she actually survives after
Oh,
leaving the Winchester to go after her boyfriend's dead body. And I think she explains like she had his leg, his severed leg, and she was like fighting zombies with it. and then she climbed up a tree, and then she survived by eating bits of his leg. And it's just like narrated by this happy like little British lady, and just like, oh, so I did this, and then I just ate my boyfriend's leg for a few weeks until the army came. Um, so that was really nice.
Yeah,
I think those are the main ones that I had that I remembered off the top of my head.
those are pretty good.
Yeah, but definitely check out the like normally I'm not a special features guy either, like same as you, Tracy, but like there's some movies where I've watched them so many times that or like I would watch them so many times and then I'd be bored and I'd be like, okay, give me more. Like I want to know more. And like Shaun of the Dead is one. I think Bad Boys 2 is another that I watched, like the deleted scenes and everything.
Yeah.
It's really random.
I miss special features and like DVDs. Like I'm still waiting for that early 2000 to become nostalgia because right now nostalgia is VHS and like other stuff,
Mhm.
and it's like DVDs and special features haven't quite come back as like nostalgic yet, but it was a big part of my high school, I would say too.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like even like CDs and stuff used to come like with big booklets in them, and they'd have like
Yeah.
pictures and like information, and they'd have just like little tidbits of stuff in it, like nice booklet at the beginning, and then it'd have like a bunch of special features. And I've realized as I've been going through things, like all of the newer ones, don't have a booklet like at all. And then the special features are, do you want like a 5 point surround sound, a 5.1, or Dolby
Yeah.
sound? And we have Spanish subtitles. I'm like, that's not a special feature, guys. That's just allowing me to watch the movie in case I speak Spanish. Like that's it. So yeah, it's a little weird. But then I do have some of like, I've got like a couple like Criterion Collection things, and a couple like special editions, and yeah, those have this stuff. But I definitely paid a lot more money for those than like the regular DVDs for sure.
Mm.
Mhm.
Man, how old are we talking about special features on DVDs, reminiscing about the good old days of the audio options and the special features.
Right. I mean, like, but with all this stuff disappearing online now, it's kind of like, yeah, maybe I need to go back to buying like physical media instead because I stopped buying. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I should, see if I can find some more DVDs to add to my shelf. But
I've
we'll
thought
see.
Yeah.
about building up that collection, not for actually watching DVDs, but more of like a visual, like almost like my art DVD collection. Because all of my DVDs, I used to go down to Future Shop, which is now Best Buy, probably like once a week and buy like a $2 DVD. And I at one point I probably had like 300-400 DVDs. I have no idea what happened to them. Like they've since been sold off, or maybe my sister is holding on to them. But like I'd love to just have a little shelf of like 10 DVDs that just are there that I never watch. And then one day my daughter will ask, "What are these?" Because they won't have them anymore. And
Yeah. Oh, God. I still do that once in a while. Like especially at what's the Value Village?
Hmm.
yeah,
Um, they always have like like great random DVDs. I think the last time I went, which is quite a while ago now, but I got like No Country for Old Men on DVD. I don't have a DVD player,
Oh,
but
you're like, but I
I got
have
it.
to have this. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I will one day. I'll get a
Mhm.
DVD player and complete my collection, I guess.
So with that DVD player, would you watch a movie like Shoot 'em Up?
Good segue.
Thank you. Thank you. I was trying to get there a little while now, but I'm like, how am I getting there? How am I getting there? Yes.
So we're just too lost in Shaun of the Dead.
It's
yeah.
a good
Speaking of the
movie.
mid
You can't say
2000s and
that.
nostalgia,
Oh
Shoot 'em
God.
Up is a unexpected wave of nostalgia, especially with the soundtrack that I was not expecting. Um, the only thing that I remembered about Shoot 'em Up before I rewatched this was there's a silly scene involving a baby. And I did not
It's
remember
half the
that
movie.
it's not a scene, it's the entire movie is the silly scene about a baby. As I really did not remember much of it, but just the whole soundtrack just brought me right back to high school of
Mhm.
like stuff that I was listening to at that time. And the funny thing about Shoot 'em Up is and I can't confirm that. I have to do more research, but I feel like everything was outdated. Like it was made in 2007, but I feel like everything was probably more appropriate for like 2002, and was by the time it came out in 2007, it was just like you missed the boat on this. But I did not go back and confirm the release dates of all these songs and all that.
Yeah,
You knew those songs?
yeah, I like you said that and I was like, I don't think I remember a single song hearing a song in the
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
for clarity for our audience, I am the one white guy here, and that's very relevant to why I enjoyed the soundtrack.
Uh, yeah, no, like, no, it's true. Like, I'm trying to think. I'm like, did I hear music? I remember hearing a lot of gunshots and a lot of
Yeah.
cussing, and there was a lot of crunching of carrots.
Yeah.
But
There's some heavy
music,
metal sprinkled in there.
yeah, yeah. There's a Nirvana song. There's Ace of Spades. Really? I don't even remember
Yeah,
hearing Ace of Spades. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a song I
the
actually know. So,
it was not like when you look at movies these days when there's like it's a very popular thing that there'll be the title nostalgia song scene where there's a big action scene to like Led Zeppelin or something like that, and it's very prominent that you know what the song is. Like it's kind of the selling point of scenes these days. Whereas this one, it's very much in the background as almost like what these characters would have been listening to on their iPods, and not showy the way it is today. So I recognized a lot of them because a lot of them were on my iPod at that time. Um, but yeah,
yeah, we've also got some AC/DC, we've got some Wolf Mother, more
yeah,
Motley Crue,
the Wolf Mother very
Oakenfold.
much stood out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, on this list, the only one I actually recognize is Ace of Spades. That's just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going in a different direction with that. Like what's not the references, like thinking back or reminiscing about the old times because it was shot in Toronto. So you can see like some I mean some obvious ones like the Gardener and I don't know what else, like places along Lakeshore or yeah, Lakeshore, stuff like
Hmm.
that. I forget what else, but there's like very clearly some Toronto landmarks, even though it's supposed to be shot in, or it's supposed to be set in the US, somewhere in the US. They never
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
say.
I actually didn't notice that until the end of the movie. Like, I can't remember what scene it was, but there was something late in the movie that I think was maybe Scarborough. And I was like, wait a minute, is this shot in Toronto? Because none of the movie before I had noticed anything.
There's a shot that
Oh,
actually has like the CN Tower in the
Oh,
background.
really?
Like
yeah.
the top of the CN Tower is cut off. So you just see this like long building that doesn't really look like anything. But if you're from Toronto, you're like that's the CN Tower. I can see it. It's
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And there's like a couple shots like driving down like Front Street or King Street. It's like one of
Mhm.
those that it's the one where he's complaining about people not signaling.
Oh
And then
yeah, it's
there's
King Street. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Or wait,
And
no,
I
it was one of the one-way streets. It was either Adelaide or Richmond. I think it was I want to say it was Adelaide. Yeah, it was one
if
of the
I mean
one-way
if you know
ones. Yeah.
exactly which one, you're better than me. I thought it was a talent of mine to identify like movies that were shot in Toronto or like right away I'm usually like, yep, that's Toronto.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was like the main the main thing for me.
But yeah, beyond the soundtrack and beyond the Toronto nostalgia, I would say just the feel of the movie. Like, no one makes movies like this anymore. Like, there's the one scene where they're having a shootout at the top of the building, and then he shoots the letters and the sign so that it says "fuck you," and it's like it's so bad that it's still funny, and it's made funnier by the fact that I think they were trying to genuinely do that as an edgy moment, or like not really edgy, but like they thought that was cool, and
It's
the
like
fact that
super cool.
yeah, and it just like those type of things just worked for me, as in I'm genuinely not sure whether they were being cheeky or whether they thought they were being cool.
Yeah. Well, and like 2 seconds after you see that, you see the reverse, and Paul Giamatti shoots out the and an L, and it says "fuck you too."
Yeah.
So it's like a
Yeah.
response to him, and I was like, "Really? You guys are trying to kill each other, and you have time for this? This is crazy." But I
Well,
kind of love it. So
yeah, it's great. And not to mention that when they're doing this, they're standing in front of each other. So instead of shooting the sign, like pointing the gun all over this way, they could just point at each other and shoot each other, but it's not cool enough.
It's not, no, definitely not. No. Yeah, like watching this movie, I like Carson, I did not remember anything about it. I just remembered there was that crazy scene where there's a shootout and they're having sex, which I was like,
Yeah.
this is just nuts. I didn't know why it happened or where it was in the movie, but because it was so ridiculous, it was just stuck in my head. And I was like, I guess I'm watching this now. And then when it
Yeah.
got there, I was just like, how did we end up here? What? And now there's a shootout happening, and there's a baby in a tub. Sure,
That
yes.
was
Yeah.
the one scene where my wife came down from upstairs and she's like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "It's research. It's research."
Yeah, that literally happened. I mean, that's the same thing that happened to me. I watched Shoot 'em Up, I think, 2 days ago just to keep it fresh. And yeah, of course, like during that scene, that's when your wife has to come in and be like, "What are you doing in our room watching this?"
It's not what you think. It's important. It's fine.
Yes.
But on that note, though, one thing that kind of surprised me about this movie was it's kind of like a hard R. Like there's actual nudity that comes out, and like the humor of the movie feels like it would work a lot more for like a PG-13 or that type of audience. And it's like maybe that's part of why it failed is because they have PG-13 humor in. I assume it's an R-rated movie because there's a lot of violence and some nudity.
Yeah, there's a excessive
It's
amount
gotta
of
be.
blood and
Yeah,
stuff in it. Yes, it
and
is
they,
definitely rated R. Yeah.
but it makes it more enjoyable to me watching it 17 years later that there's like this anomaly of a movie that just doesn't make sense and is so weird and so maybe I don't know whether it's self-aware or whether it's completely not self-aware, but just the fact that I don't know makes it entertaining.
Yeah.
I feel like they've tried to make movies like that every once in a while nowadays. Like there's a couple that they're marketed as like, oh, this is crazy thrill ride with all this violent action and boobs and all this stuff. And I mean, this isn't an example of that or necessarily an example of that description, but like Deadpool comes to mind. Um, and so like there's still like once in a while they try it, but I think yeah, Shoot 'em Up is like definitely one of the early ones
Mhm.
that at least I can think of that was really this far in that direction at that time.
Well, for me, this movie reminded me a lot of Crank, which I thought came out
Hmm.
after this, but it actually came out a year before this. And like I find Crank does this better. You know what I mean? Mind you, I haven't watched Crank in a while, so I could be wrong. Maybe that's what I should have watched after watching this. I don't know. But I remember just loving the hell out of Crank. Whereas this one, like even on this rewatch, yes, I can see the enjoyment of it, but I was not like impressed. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is amazing or this is crazy. Like sometimes like silliness, really wins you over. And you're like, yes, this is great. But like I find like it just reminded me a lot of Crank. Like just the way like the movie just starts with almost no introductions, nothing. It just starts. And then it
Yeah.
goes from 0 to 800 in like a minute and a half. And you're just like, what is even going on? Sure, you're
Yeah.
here, as like they like to say, you're here for the thrill ride. Like fine, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crank is definitely the better version. Crank 2 got a little bit sillier, and I think like that was maybe where people lost it a little bit. The other example of one that's maybe a bit more reined in and not as silly is Free Fire, which came out, I want to say like 5, 6 years ago. And that's like, in my opinion, a much better version where it's very focused and just here's like a silly, you know, hour and a half action scene
It's a lot more
with
Oh,
toned
goofy
down
kid.
though.
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, what's his name though? One South American actor that's in District 9. He
Charlito Copley.
yeah,
The
he
African
gets a
guy,
little
yeah.
bit silly in that movie. And I think like that's what makes it not boring is you have interesting characters that are a little bit more over the top. The other example I would say is Shooting Aces, which I think came out actually the same year
Oh yeah.
Oh,
as
Smoking
this
Smoking
Aces?
Ace.
yeah, which
Yes.
is like
Mhm.
also a movie like I was actually looking at the box office for these years and neither of those movies did well. Like and I'm kind of surprised. But it's like this is a little subgenre of movies which has varying success of whether people enjoy them, but doesn't really seem to do that well at the box office.
The funny thing
So
is, I did not see Shoot 'em Up in the theater, but all of the other movies we have mentioned, I have all seen them in the theater. So I was helping, is all I'm saying.
you did your part.
I did my part, yes.
I just want to rewind a little bit because you guys were both talking about Crank or Cranked. I know what it's about. I know the concept. I've never seen it myself, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Um, but you guys both are on the same page that that one was better than Shoot 'em Up because I
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
feel like okay, because if I feel like if I were to watch Crank, is
Crank.
Crank.
it okay? Just
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
Um, would still like Shoot 'em Up better.
I don't know. I will tell you the concept of Crank. Okay. Jason Statham he's like a hitman or something. They don't really explain who he is, but he's technically one of the bad guys. But another bad guy finds him and shoots him with a poison. And essentially it's reducing his heart rate. And he finds out that if he keeps his heart rate up, he'll stay alive.
Mhm.
So he spends the whole movie trying to find ways to keep his heart rate up and kill all the people that are trying to kill him.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
as much as
goes,
I know.
yeah, and it goes from him going to like the hospital and getting adrenaline and like nose sprays and stuff to taking crack to having sex with somebody in the middle of the street to like a whole bunch of things, jumping out
As
of
you do.
planes and whatever. And it's just like it's completely hyperactive and ludicrous. And it's just so like you just kind of get into it, you know? Kind of like
Yeah.
I know Crank is not first person perspective, but it sort of also reminds me of Hardcore Henry as well, like
Mm,
that intense, continuous bump, bump, bump like thing. And like there's music and sound and throughout like the whole movie. And like when his heart rate goes down, the music slows down and then he's like, oh shit. And then it pumps back up, you know?
yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's all these elements in it that keep you kind of like, oh my God, you also feel like that, you know, like your heart's starting to go a little fast as well while you're watching it. And it's kind of great.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, I can see that. I think the benefit of Crank where I mean, and it's the biggest problem that I have with Shoot 'em Up is that Crank sounds like just completely simple, like because it's mindless action and goofy, but also you don't have to think too much about the story. Whereas Shoot 'em Up, like near the end, the whole reason for everything, they actually try to explain it, and it just gets way too convoluted. Like you don't need this much story for this movie. Like forget all that. It doesn't matter why they're going for the baby or make up a dumb reason. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all we need because we're not here for that. We're here for, like the bullets manipulating office drawers and making people shoot each other people with, you know,
Yeah.
all that random stuff.
Like even if they
Yeah.
made it something simple, like the woman was like a opposing gangs woman and they kidnapped her
Yeah.
and they're taking revenge, you know? Like it was something simple like that, but then they made it this like whole political thing and there was like a baby bank because somebody's got cancer and but then they
Yeah.
wanted to do this thing over here so they got like the lobbyists to change gun control and you're just like, "Wait, what? What is going on?"
I don't get just start shooting each other again. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yes.
They really needed to explain that stuff within the first 5 minutes and then just say, okay, there's motivation why people want to kill a baby, and now you can just worry about the action scene. The fact that they
Yeah.
were trying to like do an investigation was like, that really slowed it down. Although I do really appreciate that he kidnaps the presidential candidate and then just immediately shoots him and jumps out the plane. Because they're
Yeah.
like, okay, there's all this stuff, but who cares? We're just going to shoot each other again.
Yeah. 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 At that point in time, when he was like, because he was taping him to like a door or something,
Oh yeah, the trap door.
the trap door. Like I know he was taking him there to keep it shut, but at first I was like, oh, he's not gonna kill that guy. And I was like, and then he shoots him. I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't like people who do quote unquote bad things or things he doesn't like. So of course he's gonna shoot him. That kind of tracks. But at the same time, I'm like, you did way too much talking in that time period
Yeah.
for any reason. Like it
To be
just
honest, I still
didn't.
don't understand what the actual justification was. Like, I know there was a lot of talking and I was paying attention, but I do not understand it.
Dude, Tracy just explained it. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
So
let me take a step.
go ahead.
I want to try because it's pretty fresh, and I want to see if I can like coherently explain this. So there was a like Tracy, you got it. There's a baby bank because the Democratic political candidate who's in favor of gun control um, has cancer or something. He needs bone marrow from these babies, so he's harvesting their bone marrow, which is actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, is absolutely horrible. But he's harvesting them to keep himself alive so that he can uh, become president. But his opponents, I guess Republicans, don't want him to get away with the sweeping gun control, so they try to take out the baby farm. But then they the twist is that they decided to start working together instead.
That's the part I
Um,
didn't
Yeah,
understand.
it was the so it was remember so there was like a gun company like Swanson's or something it was called.
Hammerson, yes.
Hammerson. Yeah, and so they have a lobbyist who was like you like they were coming up with like a new gun and they were going to lose money if there was gun control. And so they were trying to kill the baby and then they went to the guy and was like, "Look, we will get the baby back for you and you can live. Just be like guns are fine."
I
And the
changed
guy
my
was
mind.
like, and the guy was like, yeah, okay, that's fine, I guess, because I want to live. So let's do that. And so by the time Clive Owen's character gets there, they've already made this deal and they were going to take the baby and kill him. And he was just like, "You're a flippy floppy candidate. You suck." That's why he ended up killing him. And guns
Yes.
are bad because guns killed his family. I think they made some backstory where
Yeah, he had a
he sold a
backstory too.
gun to somebody, and then his wife and his kid went to like a grocery store or a restaurant, and that guy came in with a gun and shot up the place, so they died. So he doesn't usually use guns, but he'll find guns and then he'll shoot people. I was like, wow, this is like a lot for nothing, but okay.
But then after that, Paul Giamatti, and we haven't even talked about Paul Giamatti, who's great, by the way.
He's yes.
And he comes back and they're doing some cover up, and I didn't understand what, because they had also said, oh, his death will give sympathy to the gun vote. And
Yes.
anyway, I didn't understand how they closed
I
that
Yeah,
know
up.
because
this
there
one.
was
I know
something
this
in
one.
Congress or something, right?
Yeah, because he was going to pass his gun control bill, but because he was dead, it was going to like he was going to be a martyr,
Mhm.
or like regain some honor, and then his predecessor would like use that momentum to put forth his gun control bill, and then Paul Giamatti and the gun maker would lose in the end because gun control bad for them.
Yeah.
But they covered up the reason for his death. They just said it's a plane crash and not because he took a stand for something. Now I thought I had it. I don't have it.
I think you're about right. I mean, I feel like the people writing the script were just like, yeah, that'll work. That's all they did. They're just like, sure, I don't
They were
know.
shot with the poison from Crank, and they were like, "We got to write like he's a Democratic candidate. He likes guns, but then he doesn't like guns, and he likes them again."
Yeah. It was really all over the place at the end there because I did a lot of head tilting, like when a dog looks at you confused because it's like, what are you trying to do? That's what I was doing to my TV. I was like, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. And this is where like I had that same reaction, obviously for the plot stuff, but I mentioned earlier, but when we started talking that there's like stuff about well, not necessarily fatherhood, but like babies that like hit different for me watching it now versus when I was in grade 12, like the first time I watched it. And it's like kind of trivial things, but really for me it means a lot. Like there's number one, the easiest one, like it's a newborn baby. You can't like jump out of cars with it and like do action barrel rolls. Like shooting guns around it, fine, maybe like bad for the hearing, but like at least 50 times Clive Owen would have crushed it with his body weight.
Yeah.
Number two, everyone's hands are so dirty and they're like touching this baby. And I couldn't help but think like, and it really came out when Clive Owen's at the gun store and he doesn't have enough money. So Monica Bellucci goes to make some money and she's a lady of the night. So she's got the baby and she makes the money the way she's making it. And she puts the baby on the floor in the alleyway nearby while she's doing her business. And like they're behind a dumpster and like they're touching the dumpster and then they just pick up the baby again without washing their hands. This is like it was mind blowing for me. I was like, I was dying at that point. I
The
couldn't
other one
take
for
it.
me was the bulletproof vest that they buy for it. Like, if you get shot with wearing a bulletproof vest, you're going to be severely bruised because it's going to, maybe stop it from going through you, but it's going to significantly hurt. So you do that to a newborn baby, like that's not helping at all.
No, not at all.
It's a cute picture though.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't think dirty hands are a thing. A 17-year-old is just like, oh my God, their hands are so dirty. I don't think that's something you're picking up
yeah,
on. Not at all.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, back then I was just like, oh, Monica Bellucci, so hot. Oh, let's keep going with this movie. Um,
You had your priorities straight at the time. Yes.
Also, all those milk bottles just standing out in the open, not being refrigerated, like they think they were going to feed the baby with those. It's not
Can we just
sanitary.
list like all the things like wrong with just that, just the like care of the baby?
Well,
Like
yeah.
they
This
gave it
movie
solids.
they didn't prioritize baby accuracy, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, half the movie, the diaper for the baby was dirty old newspapers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
that's
I
how he
forgot
learns
about that
about
one.
like the senator or whatever. He like they were changing the diaper, which happened to be a
Yes.
newspaper. And I was like, what? I thought you guys went. So sorry, you bought the baby a bulletproof vest instead of diapers? I think you have your priorities wrong, but that's just me.
Man, that yeah, I'm still like in shock from the just poor, poor care of the baby. I mean, I know neither of them were its parents, but come come on.
I mean, the tank was a great idea, that you got quiet, you got a low light. That's perfect for a baby.
That was in that building is in the CNE. I know that
Yep,
building. Yes.
yep. They use the army base in the CNE as well, or
Mhm.
barracks, whatever that building is.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm like, I know exactly where that is. Yes, yes, I do. And also
Hmm.
the when he goes to the park and there's like the merry-go-round and he puts the baby on it. And then then Paul Giamatti shows up to sniper the baby and he just starts spilling the thing around
Yeah.
constantly. And but then he picks up the baby and it's very clear when you're watching it, that baby's head hits the pole as it's going around. I'm like, that baby is dead, guys. That
Oh,
baby
I
is
missed that.
dead. Because I actually I was like, what that baby's head hit it. I rewound it. It definitely hits it.
I
And
think you were
I'm like, I know it's probably like a doll or whatever, but
Yeah.
still I'm watching, I'm just like, that baby is dead, guys. There's no point for the rest of this movie. It's over.
I think you were distracted, Paulo, by the Clive Owen spinning that thing by shooting a bar, which
Also
was
unsafe.
Yeah,
you were
to
referring
miss.
to earlier around like people using guns instead of hands for things. I don't think
Oh
you
yeah.
can spin a roundabout using a bullet.
Just thinking of like little hands on the end of each of their bullets, like as they're flying, and then it just pushes the merry-go-round. I think at that part though, my wife had come in to the room again, and then she saw like Paul Giamatti shooting at the baby, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't do this!" Like, and then she immediately left, and then came back while they were having sex. But
Of course, of course. I do find it funny that like the two leads of this movie are Oscar nominated actors who have done
yeah,
amazing work. And then they do this, and you're just like, I know you wanted a paycheck, and maybe you just want to do something fun, but holy shit, why this? Like, this just seems crazy, like, absolutely crazy.
yeah, watch this and then watch the holdovers with Paul Giamatti just to like, just to see how brilliant of an actor he is.
Yeah.
Because he is, Carson said it before, he is, Paul Giamatti's great.
Surprisingly, the next little while, I'm going to be talking about Paul Giamatti surprisingly a lot because I recently did Saving Private Ryan, which he shows up in, and me making comment
Yes.
about that. And then he's this, and then Sideways is coming up in like next episode or two episodes from now. And I'm just like, Why is Paul Giamatti in the S's? What is going on here? There's a thing happening.
So I got
Yeah.
rather upset at my wife while we were watching The Holdovers because we finished watching the movie and she was like, "That guy who played the teacher, like he was pretty good. Has he been in anything else?" I was
Oh my
like,
God.
"It's like 200 movies about."
Big
Oh,
shout out to Paul Giamatti.
big shadow. I remember there is a movie. Is it him that does it? Um, there is a movie that I saw him in, and that was the movie that made me like him. But it also sort of reminded me of being John Malkovich because he plays himself in this kind of like weird future world. And the whole premise is that you go to like a place and it takes up part of your personality, so it allows you to do certain things, and then they
Hmm?
can put it back. And I think is it called Cold Cases? I think.
I don't know what this is. That sounds interesting though.
Cold Souls is what it's called. And it's just like a lot of I don't know anybody who's talked about this. Or anybody who's like really like nobody I know specifically has ever watched this movie. I brought it up to the people. They're like, I don't know what that is. That just seems weird. And yeah, he plays himself, and it's him getting ready for a play, and he can't get into like a certain part of the role, and he does like a thing, and like I'm trying not to give too much away of it, but it's just like this weird, funny, self-referential movie that is sort of in the comedy realm of being John Malkovich, as like John Malkovich plays himself, and it's about him, but it's about people around him as well, and it's kind of dry, but humorous, both situational and like in like they tell jokes and things, and it's just interesting. I recommend Cold Souls to people.
So I just looked it up and I have rated it, which means
Oh,
I
so you
watched
have
it.
seen it.
So
Okay.
Carson's
Uh,
seen it.
I rated it a 60. I don't remember it at all.
Okay.
But it was in this wonderful period of 2008 to 2012 where I think I watched every single movie that was ever released. And so my coverage of movies in those like 3 or 4 years is like extraordinary because I guess I was doing nothing else with my life at that time.
Yeah.
And so that was one of probably 200 movies I watched that year.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah.
So if that came out in 2008, he did Sideways, I think in 2007. He did 2000, oh no, sorry, 2006, 2007. And then he did,
2004 or five was Sideways.
oh, okay, never mind. Close enough. But then he went straight from that to Shoot 'em Up. And then he went
Sideways
from,
was actually, sorry, Sideways was actually 2004. And he
okay.
did American Splendor the year before, which is also a great movie.
Oh, so those two, and then Shoot 'em Up, and then Cold Souls immediately after,
Yeah.
which is like a weird little thing to sneak in there, where he's like the most disgusting person.
I know. He's so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at his career, there's no like big lull or big spike. He's just always doing a random movie and then a really good movie and then other random stuff and then a side character. He's just like perpetually all over the map in terms of what he's doing, which like I don't know. I can respect that. And like to be fair on this one, it's not like he was giving a bad performance. He knew
Mhm.
exactly what type of villain this movie needed, and he delivered that type of villain. And
Yeah.
like he was giving it his all the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think he plays a really good villain. I just kind of wish he was he was allowed to be this creepy and weird in a movie that wasn't so campy. You know what I mean? Like I want him to be like a really good bad guy. Like you like him because you're just like, oh, that guy's a dick. Oh, he's so good at it. Like I want him to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that too. I mean, just off the strength of this, I'd love to see him just be a an action villain again, because I don't think he's ever done it since, right?
If only The Amazing Spider-Man 3 had come out, you could have seen him doing a
Oh,
really
that's
bad
I
Russian
know.
accent.
That's right. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. The like 20 seconds that he's in it as the Rhino is mint.
Yeah. Like just at the end, out of nowhere, you're just like, oh, there's the rhino. What's happening? What? Okay, this is fine. Yeah. I'm looking through his filmography, and from the movies I've watched, he wasn't the bad guy. But there's lots
Yeah.
of movies here that I haven't watched where he's probably the bad guy, like 12 Years a Slave, probably.
Probably.
Um, or even I saw one just now that I was like, maybe
So
San Andreas.
Love and Mercy, he plays a pretty scummy guy he's done quite well.
Oh, maybe I'll try
Straight
that
out of
one.
Compton. He's a bad guy because he's the
But he's the
producer.
producer, right?
Yeah,
He's
but
the
he
bad
like
guy.
yeah, I think I mean my rap history is not that great, but he's the one that like he messed them up pretty bad, like the group pretty bad.
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
basically the same role he plays in Love and Mercy. So Love and Mercy is a
Oh, okay.
biopic about the lead singer of the Beach Boys, and
Hmm.
basically like his producer or exec like puts him into like really bad mental health for many years just so he can like kind of take their money, which is basically the same character he plays in Straight Outta Compton.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've only seen Straight Outta Compton once, and that's when it came out. I saw it in the theater. So
Hmm.
it's not really triggering, you know? So maybe it's a movie I could revisit because I remember it was a little like, I know it was supposed to be like a biopic and all this kind of stuff, but it was a little bit heavier than I was expecting it to be, you
Yeah,
know? And so like
I
I
can see what you're
watched
saying.
it and I was like, okay. And I just never went back to it. Mm.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I never felt the need to go back and watch Straight Outta Compton again.
Yeah.
I think you get the idea.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've heard all the music. I get the gist of it is there, assuming. Um, let's see. Oh, I wanted to talk about, so there is a scene that they do in this movie that I'm like, this is clearly, well, actually, before I say this, let me actually check my facts because yes, okay, yes. There's a scene that clearly the director just watched The Born Identity and was like, I want to do that scene. And it's the scene where he throws a guy in, like, it's in the stairwell, and the stairwell's like a circle
Oh
around,
yeah.
and he throws a dead guy down, and then to save himself, he jumps with the baby in his arm, of course. And then as he's dropping, he's just spinning in like circles, shooting people as he's going down, and then lands on the dead body. And he lands on top of the baby, but the baby is fine somehow. And I'm just like, you watched The Born Identity, didn't you? Okay. Okay.
But that was
Yeah.
But
also one of those weird like hard R decisions that was kind of confusing because in the I don't remember exactly the scene from Born Identity, but when you land, like you see the typical like thud. If it's like, oh, the body cushioned my fall, blah blah blah, you can kind of insinuate. But there's a very split second where it like crushes the guy's throat or his face or
Yeah.
something, and it's like it's just kind of weird that
And then
even
there's
though
like
that's what would have happened.
yeah.
blood like shooting out of his
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very intense. I will say that. But yeah, as soon as I watched it, I was like, that was from Born Identity. I know where you got this from. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection actually when I saw that part. But
Hmm.
also, other connection, he probably watched Shaun of the Dead too, because at the end he has like the bullets in his because his fingers are all broken. So to kill Paul Giamatti, he puts bullets in between his fingers and then puts them in the fire
Oh, to shoot
to
them
to
off. Yes.
to shoot them off. Yeah, through his hands, and then that like happens. I didn't even make that connection until I watched this like both of them back to back, but like Shaun of the Dead in the bar, like the bar's on fire and they have the shells on the
Hmm.
bar, and then it starts randomly shooting zombies. I was like, did Tracy pick these two because of that?
It is just
I
alphabetical
loved
order, I swear.
Okay.
I loved Paul Giamatti's reaction when he sees the bullets in his hands, being like, "Oh no, he's definitely going to hit
That's
me with these bullets immediately." Like,
Yeah, because like his fingers are broken. He's got no pressure on those. So they could have literally just gone all over the place or exploded his hand.
yeah,
yeah.
And but also the thing is when he did that, I was like, your fingers are broken. that doesn't mean you can't feel more pain. So putting your hand in a
Yeah.
fire does not seem like the right thing to do.
Also, it's
Just
probably going to take like a minute before those bullets explode. Like it's not going to
yeah,
happen right away.
hold it there.
Yeah, just wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Okay, there you go. Yes. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. And then it also like after that, they feel the need to show him like they have another standoff, even though he's been shot in the chest 4 times.
Yeah.
Then he gets up again and they're both like in front of each other, like trying to shoot a gun with like broken fingers, and Paul Giamatti's trying to shoot a gun with and he's dead already. They should just left it at the fireplace gun.
Yeah. He should have just died. Or at least one of those bullets should have hit him in the head right away and then it's over,
Yeah.
you know?
But
Yeah.
then we wouldn't see his wife divorce him right
Oh
before he
yeah.
dies.
Which I've had
That
so
that
many
had to
questions
be in it.
about that. Yeah. Yeah. First of all, who's marrying you? Second of all, like really divorced because you're late for a kid's birthday party? Maybe it's like maybe it's like he's missed every single one of his kids' birthday parties. Maybe that was the last straw. I don't know, but I don't know. Missing a birthday party doesn't seem like grounds for divorce.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that his willingness to kill a baby, I assume he wasn't the best father figure. So I think it lends to it tracks.
It's right. Yes, it's within his personality. You understand all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will give him credit that he never handled the baby with dirty hands, which was obviously my biggest problem
yeah,
with the movie. Actually, I don't think he ever got close to the baby. Oh
He
no,
did run it
he
over
ran it
with a
over
car.
in a car.
yes,
Okay, sorry, I
yeah.
forgot about that.
So like this, there's an action sequence every like 3 minutes in these movies. Okay, so I talked about like the stairwell scene, but is there like a favorite sequence in this movie that you guys really liked, or you're just like everything is wrong in this scene and here's why? Like, let me know. Let me know.
So the one that
Uh,
I liked, and it's a very short scene, is when they're in his home and it has like a bunch of filing cabinets and tables, and he's just like jumping through boxes and whatnot to shoot people. I don't know why, but it just was like at that point I had given up on, well, I've probably given up much earlier, but it's just like whatever song was playing, I can't remember which one, but I was like, all right, I can enjoy this.
yeah, I mean that one's good. I think there's a tie, I guess. Number one is like when they're skydiving and shooting each other, like they're falling through the sky.
Right, I forgot that one.
Yeah, and then he kicks like one of the guys into the helicopter blades, which just happened to be there when it wasn't before. Um,
Also, I loved when they get to the ground on that scene and there's just all the bodies.
yeah, all in one like
Yeah.
small vicinity, like they all happen to land in the same place. But also the first one, I think I enjoy the first one the most. It's just like in terms of like the shock, especially with the first time you watch it, being like, oh, it's this kind of movie, okay. And then also with the playing with the electrical sign, the like fuck you, you fucking fuckers
Yeah.
is like top top five iconic movie lines for me.
That's where you get the introduction to Paul Giamatti, where he's like, "Stop breathing, you're ruining my shot."
Yeah, yeah, all of that, all of that. Oh, and he's complaining about the guy's ponytail.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. He does do a lot of complaining in this movie.
He
I mean,
he does.
I mean, it's one of those movies where as soon as he kills the guy with the carrot at the beginning, you're just like, okay, so I'm gonna put my brain on the table and let this. I'm gonna let this happen to me. This is that.
Mhm.
That's what you have to do because if you spend too much time analyzing, like that's not how physics works, or I don't think you could do that. What's happening over here? Because like there's a whole part. I think it's before he gets on the plane, or is it after he gets on where he's like in the gun factory and he sets up a
Ah,
whole pulley system
yeah.
for guns and nobody noticed until it was time for the action sequence. And I was like,
y-
nobody
yeah,
apparently there was 800 people in that building that he gets to kill, but
yeah.
nobody saw him rig up a pulley system to shoot all of them.
Well, one of them does see him, and they like it's. I don't know if it's just shot weird, but he's like hiding in the factory, behind a box or something, listening to like Paul Giamatti talk to the gun maker guy, and then a guard walks by and looks straight at him, and he's like still there, and then he just walks away, and the guard's like, okay, I guess he works here, because nothing happens. And then he does like all that pulley stuff, and then every henchman is like, okay, single file, everybody,
Yeah.
like right into the gunfire. But I mean, it's still enjoyable.
It is. It is still enjoyable. It's just so ludicrous that you're just like, you know what? Sure. Why not? You know?
Yeah. And actually, you mentioned the carrot thing, which we haven't talked enough about, I feel
Oh,
like, because I don't know if so I never noticed this until I just watched it a couple days ago. But he mentions number one that he's eating carrots because it helps your eyesight. But there's like two or three different times where it's actually showing that it's immediately helping his eyesight. So like he'll eat a carrot and then things will come into focus. Like he'll take a bite of the carrot. Did you see this?
I did
I did
not
not notice.
like I
Okay.
noticed him eating carrots throughout the whole movie, but I
Yeah.
didn't notice that specific thing, you know.
N yeah, literally like so the first time it happens is in the baby factory. There's like a dead body and then a picture under his hand. And he's standing there looking at it, and then he bites a carrot, and then the picture slides into focus like immediately. um and I was like, okay, wait, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And then it just continues, and then it happens again. I can't remember what he was doing, but he was looking at something, and then it's like blurry, and then he bites the carrot, and then it goes into focus. So it's literally like it's making his eyesight better. So he's essentially a superhero, or he's like Popeye of
Apparently.
guns.
Yeah, instead of spinach, he eats carrots and his eyesight gets better instead of growing muscles.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as dumb as that is, I actually really like that, and I felt proud of myself for noticing it because it's never explained.
Yeah.
Like he mentions that in passing that it makes your eyesight better, but it's never like clear, or it's never spelled out for you that that's
Right.
actually what's happening.
I just thought it was a Bugs Bunny reference. Like I didn't see any of that.
Sure, it is, but also it's the added dumbness of
Sure.
him improving his eyesight instantly by
The
biting carrots.
filmmakers put a lot of thought into that instead of putting thought into the more important parts of the story.
Yeah.
Yes, like having a proper plot that people can understand. Yes.
Yeah.
I
That was
mean, I'd argue that they put too much thought into the story.
You're also not wrong there. That's true. They could have like cut back on it like a couple of layers. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 8 M. Night Shyamalans in that writing room. Like we need every twist.
Every twist, every turn, everybody dead. Let's
Yeah.
do this, guys. Let's do
Yeah.
this. Yeah. I mean, like I did enjoy the watching of the movie. And I was still like, even though I was like flabbergasted while watching it, at the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it is what it is. Is it a good movie? I wouldn't go that far. But definitely I'm like, you want to turn your brain off and see some stuff happen? This is your thing. This is it right here.
100%. Just
Yeah.
pay it real close attention when he's eating carrots.
Yeah, exactly.
I would recommend it as a rewatch for somebody who hasn't watched it in 15 years, just because it's fun. It has that little like time capsule element of like going back and seeing what type of movie. But if you really want to watch a good version of what this movie is, go watch Crank 2 High Voltage, go watch Shooting Aces, go watch Free Fire. Those are better executed versions of what this was trying to be.
Well, we
Really enjoy Free Fire. Yeah.
So we seem to be in our final thoughts. So that was your final thought for Shoot 'em Up. What's your final thoughts about Shaun of the Dead? Carson.
Shaun of the Dead is one of the best horror comedy movies of all time. It's going to be enjoyable regardless of what mood you're in. Yeah, like obvious, like I think it's almost too obvious to recommend it, but I think my final thought is I am still upset that Edgar Wright did not get to make the Han Solo movie. That's where I'll end that.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that makes sense. Yes. I thought you were gonna say you're mad he didn't get to make the Ant-Man movie because I thought that would have been great.
Yeah.
Was it Ant-Man or was it?
I think
Yeah.
that's what you're thinking of. It's Ant-Man.
I think it's
Who
Ant-Man.
almost made the Solo movie then?
don't remember.
No, I think it
No
was
idea.
Edgar Wright because there was speculation that in Baby Driver wears like a white shirt with a black vest in reference to not getting to be able to make the solo movie.
Oh, that
So I think it
also
was
makes
both.
sense. I could see that. Yeah, maybe both. I don't know. Uh, well, I mean, he's made one movie every like 4 years ish for the last little bit. I
Mhm.
think so. Last Night in Soho was 2021, so we might get one next year.
Maybe, yeah. So just that you know, the Solo movie was almost directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think I would have loved that movie. Loved
Yeah.
it. I've loved everything they've done from Clone High on. So, yeah, that would have been pretty amazing. But yes.
So, by the way, you are right that there is a new Edgar Wright movie coming. It is a remake of The Running Man,
Really?
starring Glenn Powell.
Oh,
What?
Glenn Powell,
I'm
my
gonna watch
boy.
the crap out of that. Yes, that sounds amazing. Okay. Yes. That's on my definitely to watch whenever it comes out movie for sure.
Yeah.
So Paolo, what is your final thoughts on Shaun of the Dead and Shoot 'em Up?
Oh man. Sh Shaun of the Dead. I mean, this is one of the few times that Carson and I agree. Just top movie. One of all-time favorites. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I keep it simple. That's it. Um, and then Shoot 'em Up. It maybe watch it. Um, don't watch it if you care about baby care. Yeah,
You might focus on that a little too much. Yes.
don't watch it if you have a child within less than 1 year old.
Like, where's the car seat? You're in a car, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Where can people find your podcast, Fan and the Critic?
So the fan and the critic with an ampersand in between is the name of our podcast. You can find it on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you find podcasts. And also on our Instagram, the fan and the critic, all one word, not an ampersand, just the word and. Completely different things that we post, but me and Paolo will do like our monthly movies that we've watched and whether we've recommended them and also like stuff that we're looking forward to coming out. So yeah, catch our podcast or follow us on Instagram.
Wait, I can't wait. What was the last movie you guys watched that's like new, not
I think I saw
Uh,
Furiosa on the weekend.
oh man, the last new movie I watched was maybe no Civil War.
so oh, both of these are great movies. Love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
I
we
mean,
do them in
I
batches for our posts. So,
yeah, I've seen that. So I was just curious before we get there. I needed to know. I needed to
oh
know.
okay.
Yeah. Out of pure curiosity. Anytime anybody mentions something about a movie, I'm like, wait. What movie is it? Or what movie are you guys talking about? I need to know what this is. It's a real issue, you know.
Yep.
Um, well, thank you so guys so much for coming on. This was a really great discussion. And listen to the fan and the critic as well as this podcast on a regular basis. Have a great night,
Awesome. Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Thanks for
Thanks so
having
much for having
us.
us.
Yeah. Bye.
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 Well, that's it for this episode of Off My Shelf. Until next time, you can follow along on Instagram and Twitter at ohmyshelf, or you can send an email to ohmyshelf@gmail.com. This episode was produced and edited by me, Tracy, with original theme song by Ori Falconer. Like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever you listen to this podcast. Come back next time to see what falls off my shelf.